Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special meeting of the Hermosa Beach School Board for June 26, 2019. There is nothing to report out of closed session. We will call this meeting to order. A roll call. Michelle, will you please take the roll?
Maggie Bovela-Monica.
Present.
Stephen McCall.
Present.
Doug Gardner.
Present.
Maggie Bovela-Monica is on the telephone with us, and Jen Cole is absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, would everyone please rise and join us for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to approval of tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Maggie. Second?
I second.
Thank you, Stephen. All in favor? Aye. Motion.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Communications. Next, we'll have oral communications from the audience to the board. Members of the audience may address the board on any topic, regardless of whether it's listed on the agenda. However, the board may not discuss issues raised that are not listed on the agenda. Topics not on the agenda that are brought to the board's attention may be investigated by the administration and a report made to the board, either publicly or privately, at a future meeting. Complaints regarding district employees must be dealt with in closed session, not in public. Comments from visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes unless waived by a majority of all members of the board. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we will close public comment. Thank you. Next, we will have written communications. Do we have any written communications? Maggie?
None.
Thank you. Stephen?
Only that was received by all board members.
Everyone? Okay. Thank you. As the full board members, we received one communication on a teacher issue, one communication on a student issue, one communication on the North School truck routes, and one communication on air tutors. Next, we will move on to superintendent report and discussion. And we will start with R-38-1819 on the Hermosa Beach Education Foundation and Hermosa View and Valley Parent Teacher Organization information on fundraising and grants donations. Superintendent.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome our presidents of these two organizations up to the podium, please, Lisa and Carol. So come on up, and they are just, come on up.
Don't be shy.
They're just an amazing, not only people, but residents, citizens, fundraisers committed to the school district, and have done so much for us. I think we had a little chat last month in May about looking at our budget with a different perspective, and what the state of California doesn't fund for us. These individuals and their teams raise money in order to help support us, and it's critical now more than ever, now that LCFF is fully funded. So thank you so much, and I thought that it was really important to spotlight all the work that you've done, the contributions that you've made, so that people understand that it's not just, a bunch of parents who are out there just having a good time because they don't have anything else to do. This is a completely volunteer operation. I would hire any one of you in a nanosecond. You're incredible. And the legacy is strong and so desperately appreciated. So you guys can choose who wants to go first, and just come on up and share a little bit with us about how your year went.
Sure.
Good job.
Well, I'm Carol Cluth with the Hermosa Beach Education Foundation, and I'm here to report on our year, and I also wanted to just provide a little bit of background on how our funding works, because I know that part of our fundraising goes back to our endowment, part of it goes to towards your programs for next year. So I have a little chart that illustrates that really clearly, I think. It did for me anyway. It's all right. Here we go. So this is just a really quick overview of, down the left-hand side, you have the sources of HBEF funding. So these are our sources. Annual giving is the parent, community member, grandparent contributions. That goes directly toward programs next year, shown in red. Our events and sponsorship get split 20% to our endowment, 80% to programs. This year, our executive board did authorize us to start a Google certification fund. So those teachers that become certified, we will be giving them a $200 gift card for doing so. And then we've also approved a $5,000 bereavement fund. It was a rough year for this district. And so what we want to do with that is provide, have money set aside so that if anything like that happens going forward, a student of Hermosa Beach is entitled to apply to us for $1,000 toward counseling and tutoring, which are two things that we already fund. So it sort of goes towards our Educate and Thrive motto. The couple new things here for us this year, other than those two new things, is we received 2 grants this year. One is from Strata Foundation, and that covered the gap in funding new computers in Sparks Lab and Idea Labs. That was $12,500 toward those. And then the other grant is going to be funding educational support, and by that we're referring to the assistant principal position. And then our board has improved our endowment, but for the first year we can pay out from that, and we would like to supplement toward that educational support for the assistant principal as well. Let's see, this is a chart just showing all the program funding. So all that, what you saw in red, this is showing all of that funding. The yellow is what has been approved by our board on June 11th. And then this is just a different way to look at it. So everything in blue has already been approved. That's the $925,000, 383. And then in green is the Accelerated Reader and Math Program. We received that reimbursement request yesterday, so we have a check pending for that. That's why that shows in green. The yellow is what is left outstanding on that chart. That will be approved, or will be up for vote, I should say, by our board on July 1st once all the additional funding comes in for the rest of the year, because on June 11th, we of course had another 3 weeks to go in our fundraising efforts, so we didn't have all the money in yet. The next chart shows, speaking of our endowment, shows the endowment growth since 2010. You can see that it's just under $2.5 million now, which is pretty amazing from where it started 9 years ago. We hit $2 million just over a year and a half ago, which was the point at which our bylaws said we could start paying out. So this will be the first year we can pay out from the endowment to the school district. At the same time, we are putting that 20% that I already talked about back into the endowment. So what you will see going forward is, as we pay out from the endowment, the growth line there is going to decrease because there will be money coming out as we're putting money back in. Thanks to Bill Miller for putting this chart together. What we do want to start thinking about as a foundation is how are we going to start growing the endowment? What kind of specific endowment fundraising do we need to start doing so that that growth continues? Yes.
This might be a really good time to remind people who have not been in the district for very long that I guess it was about 5 years ago that we had an anonymous donor donate $100,000 to the district, and it was the sweet. If you don't mind, is it okay if I talk about that? Sure. It was the sweetest moment. I mean, Michelle was in the office too, and this man came in and he said, "Well, I just wanted to make a donation to the district," and it was a check for $33,000. And he said, "Well, I have 2 of them." And so we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best day ever. Thank you so much." Blah, blah, blah. Said to Michelle, "Cash the checks." And so we banked them. And then about 2 weeks later, he came back, and I was like, "Oh, darn it." And thinking he was going to ask for his money back, but what he brought was another check for $33,000 and said, "I forgot to bring this because I want the entire amount to be $100,000. And he absolutely made us pinky swear that we would not say who he is or where he lives or what he's about, but he is a teacher, and he just really said that it brought so much joy to him to hear the kids in his building talk about how much they love their teachers and how much they love going to school, and that this was when LCFF was changing our funding formula, and he wanted to make sure that he could do what he could. So that money, the Ed Foundation determined would go into the endowment. So I see this man walking around town from time to time, and so when I know I'm gonna have a really good day. If our paths cross in the morning, I just know it's going to be a great day. And I hadn't talked to him because he was so insistent about keeping his privacy. But I went up to him on the street one day and let him know that that's how much, we appreciate and how we feel about him. And it's just so gracious. So if there are others in the community who are going through a family reflection on what the schools mean to you or how it shaped your children or something, and you're in my age group or you're retired or whatever, think about giving money into the endowment, because it's in perpetuity and it's there for all the children for a very long time. So thank you for this slide, and I think it's a really, I don't know of another superintendent who has had that kind of a experience. It was just magical and one of a kind. So let's make it 2 of a kind or 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind and keep it going. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thanks for bringing that up, and it's a really good point. We do have some donors this year that have given directly to the endowment, and of course we did start last year the legacy donation from 8th grade families. So we had, I believe it was 24 legacy donations this year, so $5,500 came in from 8th grade families to go to the endowment this year, which is up from $4,000 last year. So hopefully that will continue as well. So speaking of historical, I have a quick slide here. This is a lot of data, so I'll sort of leave this to you to nerd out over as I did when I was building this chart. But I'll flip to the next chart and just sort of give you the overall view. So this is our income over the last 6 or 7 years, back to 2012. It shows, the gross income, our net income, and then the per capita. We went back and pulled enrollment. Obviously, we're trending the right direction. This money includes our endowment contribution. So just as you're looking at that number, think that, that those lines have within them, that's not the full contribution to the school district. That includes the contribution to the school district as well as our endowment. That's HBEF's full income for those years. What that means is if you look at 2016-17, for example, it shows net income at $930,000. Our contribution to HBCSD that year was $836,000. Last year was $928,000, our contribution to the school district. We've had a great year. I'm very happy to report that our contribution is probably going to be close to 16% ahead of that this year. So when you roll in our fundraising effort and the $55,000 endowment contribution, we're looking at almost $1.1 million to the district this year. So that's it for me. So it takes, as you said, a team. I'm really proud of our team this year. It wasn't one thing that was up from the year before. It was annual giving and events and sponsorship and the grant money. So it was the whole kit and caboodle, which is really nice. Thank you.
All right, I convinced Carol to go first, so I'll take my turn now. I'm Lisa Vargas-Gardner. I am the president of the Hermosa View and Valley Parent-Teacher Organization, or HVPTO for short. And I wanted to take versus just showing you my one slide this year, because we do not have quite the fundraising burden that HBEF does, and we are very appreciative for the work that they do to carry that kind of heavy burden. There is also, I think a lot of times, most of the questions that I get from people are
what exactly it is that PTO does. That question alone, or in comparison to Ed Foundation. Ed Foundation, for the most part, funds salaries, funds teachers for us to be able to have the programs that we have. I have taken to explaining to people that HBEF and HVPTO are two sides of the same coin. That HBEF allows us to have these programs, and HVPTO picks up the little things that then make those programs, kind of more possible. The example we typically have used is the library or the music program. They allow us to have the librarians, have the music teacher, and then we help get books in the library, musical instruments in the classroom, that kind of idea. But that being said, I thought I would take a little bit of time just to go through our budget process and what it is exactly that we pay for, because I don't necessarily know that people know those things. Like Carol, I will go through fairly quickly. Basically, our budget process is split into two. We have our traditional allocations, which are basically the funds that we use for each campus, for the events that we do, our operational expenses, and our teacher grants. And then we have yes.
Sorry, just to pause. Do we need to pause? Because if Maggie can't hear. Yes, she hears. Maggie, can you just confirm that you're hearing the presentations from Lisa and...
I can barely hear. The microphone goes in and out.
Okay. Could we just... Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. And then we have our reserve fund, out of which we pay for pilot programs and special projects. Basically, our traditional allocations, we meet with the principals each spring to determine what each campus kind of needs or wants for the next year. We check in with our event shares to make sure our funding for our events is good. And then we discuss, kind of our historical fundraising trends and make sure that we have enough, we feel comfortable going forward with the next year that we're going to be able to cover the things that we want to cover. Our reserve pilot programs and special projects, basically, we have a reserve fund every year to cover things that might come up or overages that happened. And then over the last few years, we've kind of built a fairly reasonable reserve and have tried to spend that money down through special projects, which is there's a special projects grant that anyone, parent, teacher, student, can go grab. And Joan, if she's still here, did one this year. And it's an application process that our executive board then approves. The principals actually approve first, and then we go from there. We have a multi-year reserve spending plan that we implemented 2 years ago. Prior to that, our budget always included the entirety of our reserve up for grabs. We found that we really couldn't spend that much in a year, and we also kind of had the idea, thought about the fact that these were, in a way, one-time funds, and wanted to be able to kind of spend them down in a more reasonable manner. So right now we have a 5-year reserve spending plan. We still have not been able to quite spend down as we have wanted to due to some over fundraising and underspending. So we keep we've been able to add a year the last 2 years. So we still have a 5-year plan, even though it started 3 years ago. Next we have our allocations, our traditional allocations. So Valley and View, these are the things we talk about with the principals: assemblies, equipment for the PE, playground, all those kind of traditional things, buses for field trips. Teacher stipends is one place we get a little confusion on when we talk about that we're paying teachers. These are very small stipends that we pay for the teachers' time outside of the academic school day, before school, after school, lunch, times when they should be off and done, and so we're paying them to kind of help our students out with some extra activities. 2 things on here in bold: student council. We have covered a stipend for student council at Valley for quite a few years. Next year, we are going to be covering a stipend for 3rd grade student council at View. That was a new program for next year. And then our lunch clubs started 2 years ago as a pilot program, and something Miss Gluck was very passionate about giving the idea of giving kids who didn't necessarily want to go outside and play a safe space to go and enjoy their lunchtime. We started, the first year we did it, we spent $5,000 across both campuses. Next year, we've approved $11,500. They have proved to be incredibly popular. Kids are coming to Miss Gluck all the time. Teachers at Valley are going to Miss Taylor with great ideas, and it's just been a really successful program. And then the reason it's bold up here is it has been a pilot program for us for the last 2 years that we've been paying out of our reserve. Next year, it's going into our traditional allocations because our fundraising level has gotten to a place where we are convinced that we can pay for it. Our HVPTO directed are all of our events, field days, graduation reception and dance, staff appreciation week, our school directory, middle school honor roll breakfast, all of those kind of things that we do, that events that we do that aren't fundraisers at the end of the day. Our operational expenses are all of our insurance, our accounting and information. One thing that is included in our operational expenses, which I want to talk to our treasurer about, is our surf report, our new weekly newsletter, which I think is more of a service, so I'm going to chat with her about whether that's truly an operational expense. But that's something that this process made me think about. And then we have our teacher grants and curriculum support. A few years ago, PTO took over our teacher grants. There's an application process. Each grade level can apply for a grant. It goes through the principals first, then to us. If there's money left, then any teacher or any grade level or any department can then come back for a second round or those kind of things. A couple of things are Brain Pop program that we use K through 5. All of our K through 5 social studies subscriptions, like the Time magazine, Scholastic magazines. This year it was California Studies, Social Studies Weekly. We cover one for each grade level, and then Kids Discover Online. Those were all teacher grants at one point, but teachers kept coming back and asking for them year after year, and we really wanted teacher grants to be something that if teachers had a great idea and really wanted to implement something across a grade level, we didn't want them to have to feel like they were stuck asking for the same thing over and over again. So again, with our increase in fundraising, we were able to move those to their own line items, tell the teachers they were already covered, which then opened up the teacher grant application for them to ask for something else. 2 other things here for this year. Again, a pilot program that Ms. Taylor was very just so passionate about, a math minute clinic for our middle school students. Basically, the opportunity for students who needed help on their homework, who felt like they were behind, just any kind of little, they weren't necessarily behind in enough that they needed intervention, but behind enough that they felt they needed help. We are now paying stipends for those middle school teachers to hold basically office hours after school now. And again, it's been a pilot program for this past year. And next year, we were able to move it up into our traditional allocations as a straight line item. And then for the last couple of years, we have been helping our Young at Art docents pay for the supplies that they need to create the HBF's Hearts of Hermosa art projects that are auctioned at Hearts of Hermosa. It's kind of one of our little ways to kind of both give back to Young at Art and HBEF. And again, the docents have been great about how they're spending their money. So we've actually had money left over in this line item and have been able to fund one of Young at Art's projects for the year through this stipend as well. Again, it has been a pilot program that's moving next year to our traditional allocations. Pilot programs and special projects, you can see we were able to move some stuff up. But things that we've paid for in the past that people have come to us with ideas is some updating our sports teams' uniforms, getting those kind of, some of them were gross and some of them didn't have any at all. We did not run it this year, but the previous 2 years we ran a big idea contest where we specifically went out and asked kids to give us ideas. So we've covered, we covered the bike cage and put in some skate towers at Valley, and have introduced tetherball, and then the kids were very adamant that they felt that Miss Gill needed some new iPads, so we got her some new iPads. The water filling stations at both schools, we helped pay for some of those. The gym bleachers with HBYB, we helped cover those in Valley. When we introduced Eureka, we helped pay for the manipulative kits that went with the curriculum so the kids could have some hands-on learning. And then next year, we've actually already, we say we have a July 1st start date, so we had some teachers get some July 1st dated applications in so that we could get it going over the summer to make sure they're there to start in the fall. So we are helping Ms. Myers out at the View Library to kind of complement her Chromebook, how many Chromebooks she has. She has about 10 right now that are pretty reasonable. We're getting her an additional 15 so she can have one-to-one when the kids come in. And then she's been so we're getting her that, and then she got another grant to get the cart, so she's all good to go. We also, that's not on here, that we approved a new sound system for View, which anyone who was at Dolphin Dash or Field Day or our last Spring Sing know that it was getting there. And then for next year, we've also approved a pilot program for next year for a stipend for Mr. Harrison for the 5th grade before school band. Again, it's a before school thing. And so we'll put it in our pilot programs for next year and kind of see where that goes and see if there are other sources of funding. But for next year, we know we have it covered. How do we get our money? We kind of look at HVPTO as having 3 kind of goals. One is to enhance our students' experience. The extras and materials and experiences that make school fun and memorable, your field trips, your assemblies, your lunch clubs, your field days, those kind of things that make you enjoy school a little more. We try to be of service to our parents and our staff, helping them out whatever we can to make their lives easier through our room parent networks, our surf report, our middle school class fund, our school directory, just the things that kind of try to make their lives a little easier. And then most importantly, we feel is we strive to create a sense of community and pride in that community. Spirit wear, yearbooks, our community service activities, our parent events, our parent and student events, community service events, our back-to-school picnic, the carnival, just those kind of things that make people feel welcome and at home, and then we pass them off to HBF to now they like being here, now give them money. So our fundraising tends to kind of follow that idea. We have our straight fundraising. Our Fiesta Hermosa parking lot fundraisers is just a straight, you go out and volunteer, you get money from outside the community, we're good to go. Our school supply kits and emergency kits, again, it's a parent service that we happen to make money on. Family portraits, those kind of things that just kind of straight up, fundraising. Then what we have, what our group likes to call our fundraisers, and community spirit events. Our Dolphin Dash and Halloween Carnival are very much community building, sense of pride events, but they are also our main sources of income. Everything else is truly if it happens to make money, great, it just shouldn't cost us money. And what we've been very lucky the last couple of years is that they have made money, and it's kind of added up and put us in a place that we're very happily surprised by. But these are spirit wear, our daughter dance and son fun nights, our parents night out, back to school picnic, pancake breakfast that we did with the city last year. It's kind of some unexpected funds, which was great. Our yearbooks, and then our yum raisers that we do. And then that leads us to where we're at, where we've been. Generally, our fundraising, our budgets are built on the previous year's fundraising. Unfortunately, we have to do our budget process starting in March, so a lot of times we don't know where our fundraising is going to end up. We have some good guesses. We have been guessing fairly under, except for one year we were pretty good. So as a result, we've been bringing in more money than we've expected. About 2014, Vaughn's let us know that they were going to no longer be participating in their community give back program, which used to bring us $30,000 to $40,000 a year. As a result, our team at the time came up with the Dolphin Dash. That's where Dolphin Dash was born from, and it reliably, first 3 years, brought us in $40,000. Last year, it jumped to $67,000, and then this year it jumped to $78,000. So it's been, you can kind of see that where it dipped and then we took off again. Even after Vaughn's told us in 2014 that they weren't going to be participating, the next 2 years they still just handed us a check, kind of to wean us off, I guess, but we weren't expecting those monies, so that 2015 money is a little higher than we had expected that year. Again, you can see in here that our reserves, those first 2 years until 2017-18, that our whole reserve was in there up for grabs, and now we went to a spending plan. This year, our current treasurer, Heather Babalal, who's leaving us, and so sad, she sent me this year's numbers and was like, "You're not going to like them," and you're like, "No, I really don't like them." We are on pace to raise about $190,000 this year. Our goal was to raise $137,000. So yeah. And then the other problem we have, besides that, kind of all these little fundraisers plus Dolphin Dash just kind of brought us to a place we weren't expecting this year, we're also underspending. And that could be that, I know this year there was some field trip confusion, so all the bus money wasn't spent. Or we had an event that we expected to cost us $5,000, but someone donated pizza, so it only cost us $3,000, you know. These kind of underspending. So between our underspending and our over fundraising, despite the fact that we are trying to deficit spend, we have been growing our reserve. Right now, for next year, we have a $27,000 reserve special project fund that is up for, you can go to our website right now and download an application if anyone has any great ideas. And then for the next 4 years in our 5-year reserve spending plan, we have $40,000 in each of those years earmarked to try to start to spend down this money. We really do think about it, as I said earlier, as a kind of one-time fund. Theoretically, if we could get our fundraising in line and our spending in line and we're deficit spending, we would, we might have $10,000 or $15,000 each year to spend. So we really want to make sure that these are used for one-time things. And I have had talks with both principals, as well as some of our staff, kind of looking to the future and looking what we have going on, that we have some great ideas of what those projects might look like. But we definitely we'll take ideas as you guys go along. And I think that's it. That's really it. Is we're really in a good place. It kind of cracks me up. Looking at these numbers is we've actually really tried to pull back on our fundraising. We no longer sell wrapping paper. There's a lot of things we don't do anymore. So as one of my co-board members said, we're just being really efficient about our fundraising these days. So, and it's has paid off. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, you guys all know where to find me. Yeah.
Yeah, please. And then I want to open it up, bring Carol back up. And
I'm offended about the wrapping paper. I was the chair for 6 years when I was here. So we'll let that go. The other thing is that part of the budgeting that we do as well is that when we get one-time money, we put it in our reserve and we really hold tight to it. And especially when you know that funding isn't coming from other sources. And so you might want to consider that there'll be some things that you're going to want to be a part of when the new schools are built. And so sometimes it feels really good to have that, maybe a little more than you would need for your standard, grants or whatever. But I'm thinking furniture. And maybe
I'm having the same thought.
Are you? Yeah. So just as a thought, and it would be really, really, happy to help with that.
We've got quite the wish list from our administration
Good.
And from our departments.
Good.
Things from VU has not had bike racks forever. And, Ms. Gluck's not sure that that's in the plan or the budget. So looking at things like that, Ms. Taylor, once Valley's kind of settled and there's some portables go out, then there's some big blank walls that, might look really nice with something on them. I'm talking about, North's going to need a new sign and need signage, and maybe that would be the time to do signs for all 3 schools. So we definitely have some
Great.
One of the ones that actually kind of fit in with what we were doing was someone was like, we're going to have a brand new library. And we looked around and was like, where are those books going to come from? So we definitely have a list. It's one of the things I like about our multi-year reserve spending plan is that it does allow us to show that we are attempting to spend the money, but also allow us to save for projects down the road. And as you can see from our actual spending, we've had some trouble spending our reserve money. The bump in this year's reserve special projects is all those things that we moved up to traditional line items that we really spent out of our reserve this year. The lunch clubs, mostly lunch clubs, the Young at Art projects, all those kind of things are actually all moving up next year. But it's one of the reasons why our reserve spending was actually a little higher this year. We actually got it up there, but we're still $10,000 short of our goal.
Great, that's
So,
great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have any comments or questions for Carol or Lisa? Maggie? If you're there?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Steven?
No questions, just exceptional thanks. But I was almost hot from that. I mean, I think everything was said at the beginning by Pat, but the leadership, I think the board members, I think the fact that everyone is volunteer, that doesn't go unnoticed.
That was a fun stat for this week, actually. We at the end of the year, we like to go back through all of our events throughout the year and grab all of our volunteer names and, do a thank you to everyone who gave time this year for an HVPTO project. And once we pulled everything, every event we pulled, every, shift at the carnival or shift at a book fair, all of our event shares, all of that fun stuff, it was 1,475 spots where people could
It's incredible.
volunteer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was very exciting.
So I think that, that and the community engagement, because it takes sponsors and it takes other engagements. So it's truly everyone coming together. So that's absolutely fantastic. I think I was interested to note that for the HBEF allocations, I think this means that those things are all 100% funded. Is that correct? I think moving forward, which is great, because I know in previous years where some things have been partially funded or whatever else, so that's great. It's just testament to those things. I love the description of two sides of the same coin. That's a really big, important coin, so thank you very much. Third lowest, I don't know, we don't know, maybe we'll get an update on that, but we know that the gap is huge and it will continue to be, so thank you, and thank you onwards, so that's it.
Thank you. I can't say thank you enough. The gap is massive, as we talked about at the last meeting. It's over $1 million just in salaries that the state is short. And so you look at, what HBF is raising, and, we can run, as we talked about, a bare bones program based just on state funding. So the work that you guys and all the teams do makes that all possible. So it's really terrific. On the HBF side, I think the most fascinating and best stat to me is, you would look at enrollment, and we've talked about declining enrollment and things like that, and you would expect fundraising to follow the trend down, and actually it's doing the opposite, which is really fantastic. It means everybody is stepping up even more, and you look at the projection of the green line on this, and it's really kind of amazing to see where we're going on a per capita basis. It means everybody involved is really stepping up their game, which is really, really terrific. And it's really great also that, the HBF is finding the money, the assistant principal position in particular, was something we don't really have in the budget for, but, we heard the community and the need for it, and you guys heard the community and the need for it, and here it is. And we're going to hopefully, I think, formally approve it later this evening, and it'll be really, really terrific to have that continuing going. So thank you, Carol, for you and your team, all the hard work that you do. I think you're doing this again next year for some crazy reason.
Well, and a thanks goes to our sponsors too, because we brought in this year more money in sponsorship than ever before. I think we brought in $170,000 in sponsorship,
Oh, wow.
which is great, as well as the parents, obviously, and the community members and all of that. But it's an entire community stepping up, as you say.
Yeah, totally. And then on the PTO side, I think the description of all the things that you do is really helpful, because a lot of it behind the scenes is the wrong way to describe it, but an everyday parent isn't going to necessarily see all the stuff that they just kind of assume is there, but without the PTO wouldn't be there. Some of the teacher grants and all of the things like the peel trip and the equipment, or the benches that everybody loves to sit in, and the bowl view and things like that just wouldn't be there. And they just, I think, got to take it a little bit for granted. So I was really glad for that. And then as we talk about, Pat brought up, there's one very big, very large special project coming our way in about 18 months. That is going to need a lot of resources. So I think, whatever we can hold on to for that is really terrific. And thank you to Lisa and the whole PTO team, and everything that, you know, everybody does for the district. We wouldn't be able to do what we do up here without your guys' support, so thank you.
Yeah, may I just close the loop in terms
Yeah.
of, we invited HBYM to join us today because they too have kind of become a part of a fundraising arm. This is our third year of bringing back, of the process to bring back the music program, and so the music program is 1 through 8th grade. I appreciated seeing that PTO is picking up the stipend for those 3 trimesters for next year, so that's going to help a lot. And I know that the Ed Foundation also has it down as part of their fundraising. The HBYM last year provided a grant to the district of $8,500, and so they spent that money was part of multiple donations for music. They started the year, the music account started around $13,000. And so we had donations from Kiwanis and Rotary and private individuals, and so, and HB, between the basketball acronyms, everybody else, HBYM gave us a grant of $8,500. And so with the money from last year, there were a number of items that were purchased, including recorders for the 4th graders, other instruments as needed. There was festival costs, T-shirt costs, transportation. There was the stipend. There was music. Now that we have a band, they had to purchase the music to learn how to play. And so, you know, as any other program would require, you know, music stands and everything else is on the list. So we did not fully fund that program last year, but HBYM announced at the May meeting that they have already fundraised and received $10,000. And so now that we've got instruments, a lot of the focus will be on this grant writing strategy has worked out really well. So they're going to, rather than them giving us the money, the school district will write a grant back to the HBYM for whatever it is that's needing, with a focus on instrument cleaning and repairs. And that's really quite expensive. So if you have 45 instruments and the average cost is $60 to $100 per instrument for cleaning, you know, you blow through that money pretty quickly. This year we were fortunate enough to have a private party. It was actually a personal friend of Mr. Harrison who paid for the fee for the music festival, which was a couple $1,000. So everybody wants to be a part of something that's wonderful and special, and they're doing that. But thank you to both of your groups for supporting music, and thank you to Regina and her crew for their continued financial support. That was part of the process to get music back into the schools, so we don't take it for granted, and we really appreciate it as well.
Terrific. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, Maggie, please.
I wanted just to echo my gratitude to all the volunteers, but for the superintendent, is there any other groups that we're missing a report from at this meeting from different supporter groups, booster groups?
The only one I'm thinking of is the HBYM. I just gave it for them.
Beyond that.
Beyond that.
Is there?
No, not to my knowledge. Are you thinking of something in particular?
No, I just wanted to make sure that none of the club sports teams in the middle school, if there was anything else we're missing. I was just going through my brain. Yeah,
no, I don't think so. HBYM is a little different because as they're transitioning away from being a nonprofit in terms of providing music for the students, they've become more of like a booster club that you might see in a high school setting. So that's the only other group that I can think of. What'd you say? Okay, Maggie?
Sorry, I said thank you.
Oh, sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, moving on to closing the public hearing. And we will start with H-05-1819 on the hearing on the 2019 2020 Local Control and Accountability Plan. We, at the last meeting, discussed, Dr. Perez gave a great presentation, and we discussed the Local Control and Accountability Plan. Did we receive, I don't know if there any further public comment at this time. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing on the Local Control and Accountability Plan. And we'll move on to the next public hearing, which is H-06-1819, on the hearing on the 2019-2020 Local Control Funding Formula Budget. Similar to the LCAP of the last meeting, we opened the public hearing. I don't know, we did not receive any further public comments. I will ask if there's any further public comments at this time. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing on the Local Control Funding Formula Budget as well. So those hearings are now both closed, and we will move on to board action, and we will start with P-36-1819 on the certificated employment transaction to rehire the assistant principal position. Superintendent.
Thank you. You will recall that over the past few months, we've been discussing the assistant principal position, and one of the items that you did at your last meeting was to redo and update the definition of what the assistant principal duties are. And so I asked for direction about whether or not you would approve having me start the process to rehire and fill the position. And so this is the actual action that you will take, stating that we will begin the hiring process. We already have, per your direction, posted the job description. We've received over 30 applicants, and we'll be holding interviews on Tuesday. So it's recommended that you approve the rehiring of the certificated assistant principal effective July 1, 2019.
Are there any questions? Maggie, any questions?
None.
Okay. Stephen?
None.
All right, none for me either. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Maggie moved.
All right, Maggie, thank you. Stephen, second?
I second.
Thank you, Stephen. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. We will now move on to the next board action, which is Superintendent S-61-1819 on the Every Student Succeeds Act Local Control and Accountability Plan Federal Addendum. Dr. Perez.
There you go.
Good evening. Tonight, I have the privilege of sharing with you, just recapping the seasons of LCAP. All throughout the year, I have shared with you the process of developing the 1920 LCAP. And so tonight, we come full circle. I'll wait till she brings up that slide. I can't read it on here. My eyes aren't that good. Okay, so this is the seasons of LCAP. You know, we started our year really just in assessing our goals and really engaging our stakeholders. Through November through January, we really began to look at the draft and began looking at the goals and reviewing them and deciding. The board gave us direction that they would like to see us refine those goals. So the group that we worked with, we had 20, like I shared with you, 22 stakeholders that were certificated, classified, and made up of parents and community as well. And they really took their job to heart. They did a really nice job in developing the 4 new goals based on data. And then February through April, we really responded to the metrics that from the data we gathered and created those new goals and developed the draft LCAP that you received last time.
So now we're in the final season of LCAP where you have received the draft, and we had the public hearing, and the public was able to give feedback, and like Superintendent Escalante shared, we did not receive any formal public feedback. And so tonight you have the LCAP in front of you to consider approving. We did make some revisions based on your feedback last time. I think there was something about changing something to restorative practices. We changed that. And then also we got county feedback as well, and so we made those adjustments. So what you have in front of you is the latest and greatest. And so that's where we're at. And this is kind of the process that I just explained to you. So we just closed our public hearing. These are all processes that are mandated by the state of California. And if Superintendent Escalante had received any comments, we would have to, by law, respond to them in writing, and we did not. We must submit our LCAP to the LA County Office of Ed by July 1. And this year, we also are required to submit a federal addendum to the LCAP. The federal addendum is another document, and you have a copy of it. It looks like this. And basically what it is it's for the state of California to say to the federal government, our LEAs are utilizing federal dollars appropriately to help support students who are needing targeted interventions that are underperforming. And this is how they're doing it. They are using these monies as supplemental monies to help close the not only the academic gap, but the opportunity gap as well. And so by law, the state of California has to share this information with the federal government, and we as a district only receive Title II funding, and that is earmarked for professional development. So what you have in front of you tonight is the federal addendum, and the only section that we're really required to fill out is our Title II section, and there are 3 provisions that we have outlined in this federal addendum. The first is we have shared that one of the ways that we will supplement our professional development to help our underperforming students is we will provide teacher induction training for all of our new teachers. And this includes our new teachers receiving mentorship from well-versed, credible teachers who are highly qualified within our district. And that program is a program that is a South Bay cohort out of PV, and we belong to that cohort. So this Title II money will help support that. Title II money will also help if we continue our cultural proficiency training. That type of professional development can come out of Title II. And then with the adoption of the new NGSS curriculum, we did get 2 professional development days from the publisher, but if the teachers wanted to have additional time to really wrap their heads around the new curriculum, that also, as a professional development, could come out of this money. So tonight, you're approving the LCAP that will go to the county, and then you're also approving a federal addendum that will be submitted to the state of California. And the other thing I want to just mention is part of our Title II funds also are required to go to any private schools within our LEA, and we have Our Lady of Guadalupe who have expressed the desire to use Title II funds for next year. So we gave you an estimated amount last year. It was about $29.80 because we haven't gotten our allocation from the state just yet. We're estimating it'll be about the same.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Perez on either the LCAP or the federal addendum? Maggie? All right, take that as a no. Stephen?
None. Thank you. But thank you for everything and the whole process.
Yeah,
It has been.
Yeah, if it's okay with you, I don't want to interrupt your process, but I just want to thank you. I've had the privilege of serving this district for the last 3 years, and I have enjoyed my opportunity to serve not only our schools, but more importantly, our kids. And I thank Pat and the board for that opportunity. I've learned a lot, and I'm very grateful to have crossed paths with Hermosa Beach. So.
Yeah, we're very grateful for all the hard work and dedication you've shown the district as well. Day in, day out, evening, night in, night out at all of these meetings, presenting all of this. We know doing this in particular, I mean, just look at the first slide of how much work goes into it. And it's really been a pleasure working with you during my time on the board, and we really appreciate it. We know you make a long trek every day and every night, so the dedication that you've shown, the hard work you've given all of us is really tremendous. So thank you.
Thank you. So, there you go.
All right.
You guys need to take an action.
No, yeah, we have two.
Don't forget.
Yeah, no, I know. We have to do 2 actions. I know. So we're going to start with the action on the federal addendum, the LCAP federal addendum. Is there a motion on that piece, S-61-1819?
I'd like to make a motion to approve S-61-1819, Every Student Succeeds Act Local Control and Accountability Plan.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Motion carries. The next board action is Superintendent S-62-1819 on adopting the 1920 LCAP. Is there a motion on this item?
I would like to make a motion to approve S-62-1819 to adopt the 2019-2020 LCAP.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there a second? Maybe. I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. We have adopted the LCAP. That is done. Excellent job, everyone.
Well done.
All right, we are moving on to the next board action, which is business B-101-1819 on adopting the 2019-2020 local control funding formula budget. Ms. Montalvo.
Good evening. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the 2019-20 local control funding formula budget. The local control funding formula was established and rolled out in 2013 and 14. Districts and charter schools and county offices of education. LCFF provides supplemental funding and concentration grants for each pupil classified in at least one of the categories: English language learners, foster youth, or eligible for free and reduced lunch. LCFF allows the districts more freedom in how to spend the funds, but also requires the development of the LCAP, which we have just adopted, and links the two together with its district-specific goals and plans on how to spend those monies for student achievement. Districts are held accountable to the specific ways in which they're spending those funds. So again, we recommend that you approve the 1920 local control funding formula budget.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the business manager? Maggie? Take that as a no.
Did you open up for questions?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, one question. Thank you so much, Paula. Thank you so much to the LCAP team and LCFF team for putting this all together. My question is for looking forward at the budget to make sure that we include a line for permanent technology funds, and that also we examine where we allocate budget resources for board professional development, specifically looking at the CSBA conference that we go to or any other professional development opportunities.
Did you guys get that?
So although that sounded like Klingon, I've had this conversation with her, and so what Maggie is talking about is that every year the board has the opportunity to determine whether or not they're going to vote on whether or not to take a wage for their time as board members, and I think it's the maximum is $240 a month in terms of a salary. And so the board has always waived that, giving money back to the district. However, we do have opportunities, and we also value the importance of our school board members, particularly because we've had so many new school board members coming on, that they also receive professional development, just like any other employee in the district. So what Maggie's suggesting is that perhaps we can have a discussion about an equivalent amount, or an amount not to exceed what the combined annual salaries, should the board take a salary, to see if some of that funding can be put towards professional development for board members. So I think what she's asking, and tell me if I'm wrong, Maggie, but I think she's asking for you to kind of maybe come back with some more information about that, and then either maybe make a correction at one of the future, either the first interim, second interim, so that we can start getting that into the budget, and I think that the board has to have the conversation as a group at the time when you're looking at your changes in governmental roles, and then governance roles, and also when you are selecting your committee, responsibility.
Pat?
Yeah?
Yeah, I thought that captured it. Thank you. And also, what would be helpful in that is if we could pull the data on what has been spent on the board.
Yes.
It would be a useful bookmark.
Yes, I think that's really important. Yes, absolutely. We'll put together a chart.
Yeah, and I think the second piece was technology.
Yeah.
Pulling that out as a separate line item.
We have that. So technology is in the...
She was asking, I believe, Maggie, if you were asking for a permanent technology line to be added to the budget in the future, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look into that.
Yeah.
Terrific. Are you good?
All good.
Perfect, thank you. Stephen, any questions, comments? All right, you're good?
Thank you.
I just had one question. Looking at the budget that we looked at the meeting at 2 weeks ago, and the budget that we're about to take action on this evening, it seemed like it was 99% the same budget, but there was an additional, it was just over $25,000 that was added to materials and supplies. In my review, that seemed to be about the only change. So I was just curious where that change came from, or what is the purpose of those additional funds, materials, and supplies?
Okay. So initially at the last meeting, I mentioned that the county was reviewing our document that we submitted to them, and in between the time that we put the budget together, they noticed that we hadn't allocated all our budget. So we had $102,000 come in for supplemental for our intervention program, but we had only expended about $76,000 of that. So we were $25,000 short.
Okay.
So we went back in and we spent those monies and we added it to books and supplies for the time being until we know exactly where. We're probably going to use some software programs to help with the ELD program, and then some other software for the English language program as well. So right now it's in books and supplies. We can make adjustments as we move forward to the different funds if needed, but that's the increase.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. With that, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve and adopt Resolution B 101/1819, the 2019-2020 LCFF budget.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there a second? All right, I will second. All in favor? Aye.
Wait. Maggie?
Aye.
Thank you. Yeah, we need that phone one on each of these together. All right, motion carries.
We don't have a quorum.
Motion carries.
May I interrupt for one quick second? I would really, really like to congratulate Paula. Not only has this been her first year, and the fantastic job that you've done this year, Paula. Honestly, you've just been terrific. I remember you standing at the podium a year ago saying, I will not disappoint you, I will make you proud, and I am proud. But also, on top of learning all of this, she also has completed her certificate of business management certificate from USC. And that is no easy task. I've watched her, do all of our work, go home, do all of this extra work on that. It was a requirement of her getting up to speed. Truly, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and she's a prime example of that. So congratulations, Paula. She had her ceremony over the weekend, and I just couldn't be more proud of you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome. All right, we will move on to the last action of the evening, which is business B-102-1819 on the Beach Cities Health District Grant Contract Agreement. Superintendent.
Thank you. First, I have to start off with an apology, not to Allie, but to Maggie, when you asked if there were any other groups. I think of Beach Cities Health District as being a department down the hall, not just like a grant out there. So I apologize, Maggie. There is one more, and that is Beach Cities Health District, and Allie is here tonight to talk about the grant contract agreement, and she's going to share a little bit of information with you. So she just ran from her board meeting in order to be here tonight. So thank you, Allie. We couldn't do it without Beach Cities. I mean, truly, it does feel like you are just, one of each school district feels that Allie is part of their staff. And so I don't know how Tom feels about it, but she's equally divided amongst the three school districts, and we couldn't be more appreciative of everything that you do for us. You really help us in so many ways, so thank you.
Thank you so much, and good evening to the board. It's good to see you again, and I know we spent some time together earlier this month. It's hard to believe that's only been a couple of weeks ago, and I know the action item tonight is approving our contract for next school year, but this evening I brought essentially a yearbook, your school health report for the previous school year, and it's quite a thick document. I think you have a lot to be proud of. I think you started some new initiatives this year with the Hermosa Empathy Project, continued great programs, continued to engage not only students but an even larger parent audience. And so we're working closely with your team to continue to build great programs for next school year. We've taken all of the great ideas that you suggested at the tri-agency study session and are putting that into a final report that we can present to you with some clear and actionable items that we can take moving forward. We'd like to invite you to come to our Beach Cities Partnership for Youth Coalition meeting that we'll be having on August 15th over at Manhattan Beach Middle School in the morning. We'd love to have you present on what you discussed at the tri-agency study session so the other neighboring school districts can hear about what you're up to in Hermosa Beach and how you're leading the way as it relates to mental health and substance use prevention here in Hermosa. So if I may, I will leave the report here for you. I just want to say thank you for all that you do. Thank you for the partnership. We had Kim over last week to talk about what we're going to do next school year with her job likes from the other school districts. So we really appreciate all your thoughtful feedback and for taking that time to do the tri-agency session. As Pat mentioned, I just came from our BCHD board meeting, and they also had great things to say. And so down the road, we'd love to bring all 7 elected bodies, which would be your board, the city council, our board, and the school boards and city councils of the other neighboring beach cities together to have a conversation about how we can work together as a community. So thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So based on that update, it is our recommendation that the Board of Education approve the Healthy School Grant Contract Agreement with the Beach Cities Health District for Healthy Schools Service Agreement at $94,091 and the Principals Fund at $6,000 effective July 1st through 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
All right. Are there any questions of the superintendent?
Excuse me. I got all confused with my twos. 2022.
2020.
Are there any questions for Ally or the superintendent? Maggie?
None.
Thank you. Stephen?
None, but thank you very much. It was a great tri-agency session, and the more we can collaborate on these issues, the better. Exceptionally excited to hear from the leadership of the actual students as well. So that's going to be fantastic. So thanks for inviting us to that.
Yeah, I don't have any questions either, but I also want to send a thank you to Ally and the whole team at Beach Cities Health District for everything they do with our district. Similar to the PTO, there's a lot of things that they do I don't think people realize comes from Beach Cities Health District. Yeah. From gardening at View to a lot of the wellness and Mind Up programs that they're really helping shepherd, and the docents for all those things and all the trainings that they help do in nutrition. It really is instrumental. I just want to make sure people are aware that it's this partnership that once again allows those things to take place in our schools and enhances the opportunities that our kids have, which is really tremendous. So thank you for all the hard work that you guys do, and I definitely look forward to 3 more years of working with you guys. And I think it would be tremendous if we got all 7. I wish luck to whoever has to schedule that, but it would be tremendous to get everybody in one room and really hash things out and discuss all the topics that need discussing across all 3 of the beach cities. So thank you. With that, do we have a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve B 102-1819, the Beach Cities Health District Grant Contract Agreement.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. So that takes us to the end of the action section, and we'll move on to board member roundtable. Maggie, you got anything?
A happy start of summer to all the Hermosa families.
Yes, thank you. Stephen?
It was my first opportunity to get to our middle school promotion ceremony. I thought it was exceptional. I thought that hearing from the student leaders make their presentations was exceptional. I don't know if we record that stuff. I don't know, but it's amazing. Yeah. It was really quite, uplifting, particularly when we, think through to K through life, and you see these students going onwards and very much upwards, and really test, across the board. So it was wonderful. I think one comment or observation, I think, is just that we have a lot of wonderful all of our wonderful organizations recognized and have actual commencement sort of awards or recognitions. I think there's an opportunity maybe to have HBEF a part of that, because they give so much to the fabric of what it takes to have those students thrive, especially with middle school electives, etc. So I just wonder if there's an opportunity for next year to sort of embed that a little bit, because I've just sort of, obviously families give and they continue to give, and students will continue to be a part of the community. So I think that's just maybe an opportunity as a fresh person looking at this, but it was wonderful. And thank you very much, and yes, happy summer.
Thank you. I just have one quick thing, just a reminder that the applications for the open board position are now available at the district office and on the website, hbcsd.org. They are due to the district office by 4 p.m. on Monday. We greatly encourage anybody who is interested to fill out the application and apply. And then we hope to see a number of folks here at our next meeting on July 10th for the interview portion and the appointment of the lucky individual who gets to join us up here at that time. It is a really inspiring position and a great opportunity to give back. So I encourage everyone who may have some interest to fill that out. I know all of us up here are available to anyone who may have any questions about the role of board members, what the commitment is, how we interact with the district administration, the teachers, the students, how the whole thing kind of works. So please feel free to reach out to any of us with any questions you may have between now and when the application is due, and then again before we hopefully see a bunch of you on the 10th. And obviously, happy summer. Hopefully, you're enjoying the first couple of days. Hopefully, the summer weather will eventually begin, and then we can all enjoy the beach. So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting at a record time of 8:17?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.